Hey everyone, it's Robert from On My Turntable. Hope you're having a great afternoon today. It's Friday afternoon. It's kind of dark out already, even though it's only 3:30 in the afternoon. It's crazy. This don't like this weather. Don't like this time of the year for many reasons. But man, I love sunshine. I love warmth and everything else. But I want to try and start a new series, and I'm coming up with an idea of what to call it. Um, Albums you need to listen to is already taken. Um, I don't want to say needs because that's just pushing someone to do that. Albums you should discover, maybe, or albums you should listen to, or to discover albums you need to discover, or something to that effect. I haven't really come up with a title, but I want to start off with this timeless classic, I guess you call it. Maybe it should be albums you should discover. But I want to talk about this one here. The Zombies, Odessey and Oracle. Just received it yesterday. It is a wonderful album. I've been listening to it all week on Spotify. I love the inner sleeve here. It's almost like a vinyl album, and then you've got the red CD. But this thing is wonderful. It's I knew of the Zombies in She's Not There, Time of the Season. I knew of them, but I didn't know them. I just knew they were a '60s band, like everyone else in that time period. But I didn't realize how unique and amazing they were. So this is the second studio album released in 1968. Of course, as I said, big hit is Time of the Season, which to me stands apart from the rest of the album. It's almost like an add-on to me, anyway. Some people may feel differently, but it's a different song than the rest of the album, and it's almost like they added it. It's just so unique, but because the rest of the album is filled with piano and some happiness and some upbeat songs and that type of thing. Time of the Season is a slow, funky groove thing, which is cool. I love it, and I could listen to it forever. But it just weird that to me it seems like it shouldn't be part of that album, or it doesn't fit. The word Odessey is spelled incorrectly, and it wasn't noticed until the album was released. But there's 12 great and unique songs on this album. So the Zombies, British pop and rock group formed in 1962 by keyboardist Rod Argent, who went on to form Argent, which I showed earlier. I got a couple of Argent albums, like Hold Your Head Up, that type of thing. Big hit for those guys. And vocalist Colin Blondestone. Big hit, as I said earlier, in 1964 was She's Not There. They've been active from 1962 to 67, and then back again in 1969. From 1990 to 1991, and then back again in 97, and then from 2004 to the present. So they've been on and off throughout their years, but a wonderful band. So Odessey and Oracle, the album itself, ranked in the top 100 of the Rolling Stones list of 500 greatest albums of all time. The Zombies themselves were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2019, deservingly, in my opinion. The album itself is the second studio album released in 1968 by the band, recorded at Abbey Road Studios and Olympic Studios in London, England. Watching a couple of interviews, the Beatles had just finished recording and left some of their, I think, the Mellotron there. So they used it on the album, actually, which was kind of cool. Time of the Season was released in 1968. Upon its release, it didn't do all that great. But then in the U.S., Time of the Season became a surprise hit in 1969. and that's kind of reinvented the band because um, slowly over time, when the album was first released, it didn't do all that great. But slowly over time, it grew in popularity, um, and it's ranked as one of the top 500 albums of all time, as I just said previously. During the recording session, Colin Blundstone and Paul Atkinson, the guitarist, became very agitated with the process, and temper started to flare. Rod Argent wanted Blundstone to sing Time of the Season in a certain way, and Blundstone kind of barked back. He said, "You should do it yourself." And then eventually he ended up singing the song. I don't know if reluctantly or not, but of course he gave it his all and did a fantastic job on it. So when the initial album was made and released, it didn't do all that well. It really didn't. The two singles off it, Core of Self 44 and Friends of Mine, weren't charting. The band stopped performing live because of that, because they just were kind of giving up. And after one final gig in 1967, they just decided to split up. Since that time, though, the album has become a cult classic and hugely respected album throughout the music world, and a lot of artists love this album. They've played it in their solo songs and in the band songs, and it's become a highly respected album throughout the music industry. So, beside Colin Blundstone on vocals and Rod Argent on keyboards and vocals, you've got Paul Atkinson on guitar, Chris White on bass and vocals, on Butcher's Tale, and Hugh Grundy on drums. So many great songs off this album, and the writing is ahead of its time, very mature writing, a lot of twists in it. Hung Upon a Dream and Changes are two powerful psychedelic pop rock songs. This Would Be Our Year features the use of trumpets, which you didn't hear very much in an album other than the Beatles were doing that. Of course, the White Soul classic of Time of the Season. Again, ahead of their time. A lot of their lyrics were personal, loneliness, singing about loneliness in A Rose for Emily, which is that's a beautiful song. It's a wonderful song. Memories of Past Love in Beechwood Park and Brief Candles. New Love in This Will Be Our Year. The uplifting beat in Care of Self 44. When you hear it, it's such an upbeat song, and I think it's the first song off the first song off the album, Care of Self 44. When you hear it, it's so upbeat and uplifting, but then once you realize it and you listen to the lyrics, it's about a guy waiting for his girlfriend to get out of jail. But it's a great song. There's also The Horrors of War in Butcher's Tale, and of course the soul enticing Time of the Season, which again is almost separate from the album. It's a timeless classic. It's definitely deserves to be classed right up there with Pet Sounds and Sgt. Pepper's. Not that I'm comparing them to the Beatles or the Beach Boys, because they're a unique band on their own, but in the same genre of greatness and using their musical talents and style to create art. Some people refer them to the younger cousin of the Beatles and the Beach Boys, that the two of them got together. But it's kind of hard to compare. You can't compare them because, you know, the Beach Boys had their own sound, and Pet Sounds was mainly a Brian Wilson album anyway, as much as I love it. And of course, the Beatles were the Beatles. and the zombies highly idolized the Beatles. So they weren't trying to be the Beatles; they were trying to be unique, but use that same format that made the Beatles famous. Um, but still, a powerful group, and definitely an album that you should discover, and a band you should discover. I think it's a fantastic album, and I'm really happy that I have it. As I said, I've been listening to this on Spotify most of the week, and can't get enough of it. And here's the back cover, by the way. I don't know if I showed you the back cover or not, but yeah, check this out. I think it's an album you should listen to, and thanks very much for your time. Hope you enjoyed. I'm going to try and come up with a proper name, but I think I'm going to keep on with an album you should discover, or you I don't want to say need to discover because that's forcing someone, but maybe put in your comments below what you think. But thank you so much. Have a great rest of the day, and we'll talk to you again soon. Bye now.